The lights are off and away they
Got
go.
extremely loose. He's managed to hold on it. He missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Overlooking a dusty landscape in Northern California, you're watching the Global Sim Racing Channel's Live As It Happens coverage of Formula Eagle for the Skip Barber Open Wheelers, sanctioned by the Absolute Beginner League and brought to you by the good folks at 4MS Network Solutions. In just under 15 minutes, the green flag will wave here at Laguna Seca, sending the Skippies from a standing start swarming into the Andretti hairpin and kicking off round one of this 8-race campaign. If last season is any indication, 70 minutes of exciting racing is on its way. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another GSRC broadcast. I'm your host, Bill Soups On. Helping me call the action is our resident Skippy aficionado, Joe Peak. Turning the knobs and pushing the sliders is our director and recently crowned MX5 World Tour Deca Season champion, Amjad Yaman. And at his disposal will be the camera locations provided by the Ansel Adams of iRacing, Dougie Beard. Joe, this series is sanctioned by the Absolute Beginners League, but viewers shouldn't be let themselves be confused by the title. The name is meant to let the novice driver know that they're welcome to come and join and race, but like so many other successful series, as it becomes more popular, it starts to attract talented drivers, and we're certain to see some high-quality racing up at the front. But while the series organizers might be welcoming, there are some places on this track that are not as friendly. Tell us a little bit about Laguna Seca.
Thanks, Bill, and hello to all of our viewers. You're definitely right about there being places I wouldn't recommend trying to pass without some serious guts and skill to back it up. But Laguna Seca isn't going to be foreign territory for these drivers. It's one of the free pieces of content you get when signing up for iRacing. So for road racers, it's a track you'll be driving a lot as you come up through the rookie series. And honestly, it's the perfect course for that because the challenging and technical nature of this track means no matter how many years you've been driving it, you'll always find yourself looking to improve somewhere. It's got a great variety of corners between the Andretti hairpin, the sweeping rainy curve, the precise and punishing turn 6, and of course, who can forget the notorious corkscrew. Unfortunately, passing will probably be at a premium, so patience is a requirement for anyone with better race pace than qualifying pace. I could write a book about all the nuances to driving this track, but I think our viewers will get a much better idea of what it's like from our onboard lap guide. Alright, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC Skippy, so let's do a lap around Laguna Seca. Coming up over the crest that is turn 1, you want to let the car drift right to line up the Andretti hairpin. This is probably the best place to get it past in with its nice, long, straight braking zone. It's got 2 apexes though, so diamond off the middle and just glance that second one. Then, bring the car over the left for turn 3. Not a lot of braking for this corner in a lesser powered car like this, but it's going to be tempting to get on the power too soon, causing it to understeer wide, so don't get greedy. From there, turn 4 is a big lift, and then use the lift throttle oversteer to get the car rotated. The more lined up you are for the exit, the sooner you can get on the gas, which is very important in what is pretty much a momentum car. Now, we approach turn 5, which has a lot of little secrets to finding speed. The camber and compression in this steep uphill climb is going to reward those that figure out how to chuck her in and reapply the power quickly. Up next, you've got the infamous turn 6. Give it a light brush on the brakes, use that lift throttle oversteer, and then slam that gas pedal down. You can see the uphill trudge isn't over, and every ounce of speed is critical to keep from going side by side into the notorious corkscrew. Aim for the brake marker at the crest, throw out the anchor, and get the car settled so you can turn into the first apex. Then pick yourself a reference point and shoot for the blind second apex. Before you know it, you're plunging through rainy curve. Lift and then balance the car on the throttle while trying to glance that late apex. Power down, switch left, and lightly brake to get the car turned into turn 10. There's a lot of banking through here, so carry your speed. Now, the final hairpin is your last best chance for an overtake, so being able to go late on the brakes here will be a valuable skill. If you manage not to overshoot it, it's just a matter of putting it flat to the floor all the way to the line so that you can finish your lap around Laguna Seca.
Okay, there you have it. A lap around this place that is called Laguna Seca. So now that you've seen how to get around it, let's talk about some of the race specifics, some of the rules that we're going to have to be implemented here for today's race. Joe, why don't you talk a little bit about what the drivers are in for?
Well, as you can see, they are driving the Skip Barber Formula 2000 car out there, a little open wheeler, not a whole lot of power, not even a lot of downforce, but certainly requires some precision and nuance in how you drive it. Race is going to be 70 minutes today, which is the endurance length for this league. And though that doesn't sound like a lot to real endurance drivers, these guys are going to have to think long term, especially because they're going to have at least one pit stop with a fuel of 65%, fuel tank of 65%, the full size that it normally is in this car. They've got no fast repairs, so if they run into trouble somewhere along the way, they are going to pay the price. You're going to have to really keep the car whole the whole way around. They don't like the setup of the car being disturbed. And they do have 24 incident limit. So if you do run into trouble as well, you don't want to be running off track too many times throughout the 70 minutes. Now, there's two championships that these guys are going to be worrying about. The individual driver championship, that's the one with a lot of glitz and glam that everybody wants to get for themselves. And they also have a team championship, and every team has two cars out there. So you're going to see pairs of drivers with the same paint scheme. That's how you can tell usually that they're on the same team.
Now, one of the things that the season organizers have done, last season it was a 55 limit percent fuel tank, and they've upped it to 65. Some of the races last season, these endurance races, which were the 70-minute races, at 55%, it was very close to doing two stops, and it was almost like it was really a fuel mileage race. Now they've given them 10 more. The bump the percentage up 10 more percent to 65. They should be comfortable on a one stopper. Let's talk. These cars don't have a lot of horsepower, and we talked about that, which makes the lesser the horsepower, the heavier the air. Draft could come into play here, couldn't it, Joe?
Absolutely. On the front stretch, that's probably the place that it's going to be most significant. Unfortunately, though, it's a pretty twisty track, so I wouldn't see it really being as big of a factor elsewhere. But that front stretch, if you can get close enough to that guy in front, it's long enough, especially into the hard braking zone of the Andretti hairpin, you're going to see a lot of guys try to use that to set up a pass and sneak by.
Now, for me, we were talking off mic before we started our broadcast, how much I hate turn 6. You feel like you're pretty good at turn 6 there. That's the scariest corner for me. It's kind of a high-speed kink that leads up the hill into the corkscrew. What are some of the where do you think drivers are going to have their problems? And we're talking about the large field here today, too. We got to get 40 cars around this track on the first lap. Could be trouble.
Oh, absolutely. You and I were talking about that a lot, that we're a little bit worried about them trying to get through this first lap clean with such a huge field for this series. In fact, this is the record setter for this league, from what I understand. We were talking to Johan Vandenbelt, the organizer, a little bit before, and he said this is the most that they've had. And yeah, there's going to be a few places. Turn 6 definitely is one of them. It catches a lot of drivers out, because to get the most out of a lap, you really got to push it all the way to the edge. And on lap 1, if everybody's trying to do that with everybody around them, all it takes is one person with a few cars around to make a mistake, and you can take out a whole slew of people. Obviously, the corkscrew probably is going to be a danger zone, I would say, just because, again, it's difficult to go side by side and one person make a mistake. With that blind crest, you can't see what's coming. If you get a yellow flag, it's probably a better bet to be very cautious on the first lap coming up to there.
Okay, now it's time for a new segment, Peaks, Podiums, Picks. Joe, you don't have to pick the order, but you want to tell us the three drivers are going to fill up the podiums, and keep in mind we're going to keep track of this, your accuracy, all season long.
Well, we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to go through this real quick. I would not bet against Tuan Tran. He was on a roll last season. Johan Hallberg, he showed up halfway through last season, showed a lot of speed. He's a good bet. And then the other one that was really good last season, although he's not as far in the qualifying, I think he's still going to do well, is Johan Vandenbelt. Those are my top three I think are going to show on the podium today.
There you go, Peaks, Podiums, Picks. And remember, that's offered for entertainment purposes only. Please, no wagering. And now, let's quickly go, as we can go ahead. We have 40 cars to go through. We're going to run through the grid right now, even though qualifying is not done, but we feel pretty confident this is what we're going to have.
It's done now.
Okay, our top 6, we have Tron Tran, Johan Hallberg making up the front row, Jonas Blixt, Jacek Pososek in the 4th position, Richard Alhard in 5th, and Johan Vanderbilt making up the 6th spot.
Bastian Huseman is going to be starting in 7th, followed by Mikael Engstrom in 8th. Daryl B. Adkins starting the race in 9th, followed by Piers Kaki, another guy I expect to do well in 10th. Then in 11th and 12th, it's Vincent Brame and Matus Teleja.
David Burns and Martin Galenicki in the 13th and 14th spot. Daniel DeVos and Joachim Ljunggren in the 16th position. Adam Bradshaw and James Stacy make up 17th and 18th.
19th will be Mark Figueres. Then it's Benjamin Hackison in 20th, Eric Lukel in 21st, and Liam Quinn in 22nd. Jack Turner will start the race in 23rd, followed by Frederick Neptune in 24th. Bill?
Schmidt, Murray, Mogren, and Shensanelli make up all the way back to 30th.
In 31st, it's Stephen Paul, followed by Gregory Nutley in 32nd, Stephen O'Sullivan in 33rd. 34th is Jeff D. Reeder, Julian Ward in 35th, Mark Tomilowicz in 36th. Didn't get a lap time in. Same thing with all the guys behind him. Joe Stanfey, Richard Cullum, Bruce Poole, and Gianni Raspaldo rounding out the field. Bill?
Okay, it looks like most of the drivers are on the track now. We count up the numbers here, we're going all the way down. We have 41 drivers that have names on there. The lights are off. We hear the engines revving. 41 engines harmonizing. Now this is going to be exciting as they head down this long straight. Keep an eye as they go to the hairpin. We're hoping that they'll be able to get all these guys through there. Leading the way is Tuan Tran. He's quickly followed by Hallberg. Everybody looks to be behaving, making a move now back in 5th position. Is that blue car on the outside? That is Vanderbilt making a move on the outside.
Yeah, Vanderbilt was really smart there. He saw that all the top guys were lining up to the inside to be defensive. That meant he had the grippier side of the track all to himself on the outside and just plunged down with late braking. Very smart move at the start.
Figueres was off. He seems to be maybe our only casualty so far as the cars are stringing out nicely. Side by side, I'm looking at a battle back there. DeVos is in a 2-car battle.
It's got Benjamin Hackison on the outside.
Hackison, yeah.
Hackison once again doing the same thing we saw on that first turn, using the outside to really outbrake the guy on the inside. Takes that position, moves himself into, looks like 19th.
Meanwhile, all the way back, the top 18 are single files. They work their way now down into the corkscrew. Let's see how they do. The first 6 cars are through safely. 7, 8, 9, 10 are through.
See a couple guys trying to go too wide through there. Looks like James Stacy was one of them. A few more trying to squeeze in there too wide, but everybody so far has managed to make it through. Looks like it's pretty much the whole field through there. That's impressive through the corkscrew.
That was very well done. Hats off to all the drivers that did that. Now things should be easy on the second lap.
Now we do have Stefan Schmidt and Mark Figueres in the pits. They did have some problems. I'll have to go back and see if I can figure out what exactly happened between those two.
The leader's now completing the first lap. Tran's going to get the first lap as the leader all the way through. So let's run down your top 6 or so here. Tran in first, Hallberg in second, Blix in third, Pokasek in fourth, Vanderbilt in fifth, and the 6th driver is Richard Allard.
Now that it looks like we actually had a fairly big crash, and that was kicked off by Figueres getting into the back of someone. I don't think it was as much at fault there, but it was just kind of an accordion effect. Then behind them, it started to really go south. Stefan Schmidt was involved in that. Stephen Paul was involved in that. Jeff D. Reeder, Andy Morgan. So a number of drivers making contact early on and damaging their cars. Now, Bill, that's really going to make it tough because, like you said, there's not a lot of power in this car. And if you damage the aero, then the rest of the race, you're just going to be struggling to make any passes on the straight.
And one of the things I'm excited about is that they've taken away the fast repair. Now, I guess if you're a driver and you've practiced all week, you kind of like to have that cushion, that fast repair in your pocket. But for a race fan, it's kind of nice to have a you break it, you bought it type attitude. Keeps the drivers on their toes, and I think really makes them drive a little more conservatively.
Absolutely. I much prefer a series where you don't have that safety in your pocket, as we watch Jonas Blixt in third there. And sounds like Burns is off there. You can see him on screen tumbling down the order. Looks like he might have had a hard hit coming out of Rainey.
Let's see if we can get it on replay here.
Oh, that's a very common mistake there, Bill. You go wide at Rainey. That outside sand doesn't have a lot of grip, and the temptation is to lift on this car. But we keep talking about that lift throttle oversteer. It just compounds everything, and you saw what happens. The car shot across the track, and he found the tire barrier on the other side.
Yes, it's counterintuitive. The more in danger you feel, you almost have to keep your foot on the throttle, or if you start to lift off, it makes things worse. Meanwhile, up in front, they remain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, very well behaved in this 70-minute race.
Yeah, you can see Tran still leading up in front. Johan Vandenbelt, though, sitting in 5th, kind of being patient, qualified in 6th, so he's made up 1 position. I think he knows that he's got a long way to go for this race, so there's no reason to really try and barge up through these guys right at the start, especially with the pit stops. I'm curious to see with some of these new guys if they're going to be able to tell some of the little things that you need to know to be able to make a successful pit stop. That seemed to be a make or break last season, too.
Now, Tuan Tran picking up right where he left off last season. He was your season, what would that be, season 6 champion, and he's out there in front again.
Yeah, and you know, speaking of Johan, I was telling you a little bit about before the race. I kind of want to keep my eye on him throughout the season. Twice now, he's just missed out. He was pipped on the last corner of the last lap of season 5, and then he couldn't even make the final race of season 6. That stole it away from him with Tran taking the championship. So I got a feeling our 5th place driver currently is going to be very hungry here in season 7.
We're on board with Vandenbelt right now, and you can see up ahead of him, the car that's really giving Tuan some real grief is Hallberg, is really on his tail, and I think he's hungry for that lead spot.
Hallberg's looking really patient here. I haven't seen him really make some wild dives. He's just been hanging behind Tran, and he was one of those guys that came in halfway through last season. I think I mentioned it before, and just immediately was on the pace. So I'm wondering if he's another one to watch out and see if he's going to be aiming for a championship run this time around.
Now, what they do know is, like you talked about, they know they have 70 minutes, so you don't have to make it now. But on the other hand, if Hallberg feels like he's being held up by Tran, he's not going to want to stay behind him for too long. They seem to be gapping a little. There's a little bit of a distance back to Blist in 3rd. It's about a half a second back to 3rd place.
Yeah, so Blixt is he's got a little bit of work to do. He's not out of it yet. We keep talking about, you mentioned that draft. So I think that's going to keep him in the game so these guys can't really scamper away. Now look at how close that Hallberg gets to Tran there, down into the break into the final quarter. That's another spot I expect to see a couple guys maybe try to make a pass if they can't find a way around down into Andretti, because that is a really good heavy braking zone, and it's easy to surprise someone if you get a good run off of 10.
Yeah, we'll stay on the leaders here a little bit, but I have a hunch that Tran and Hallberg are happy to run 1-2 if they can put a little bit of distance between Blixt and 3rd, and they're beginning to do that now. They've opened up the gap to about 3/4 of a second, so they've picked up about 1/4 of a second since the last time. And you wonder how long Vandenbelt is going to be back there in 5th. He's got to be thinking about getting up there. He has visions of a victory here right now in a battle right behind Potosek.
Yeah, he's keeping Potosek under pressure for sure, coming up here up through turn 5. Oh, and look at that big mistake from Potosek. The pressure pays off, and Johan takes it easily, coming up to 6.
And in fact, there's those front drivers are beginning now to gap the drivers behind them. Potosek able to hang in there, though, and still keep contact with Vandenbelt.
Yeah, and I said earlier that patience is going to be really key. That was a great illustration of it. Johan wasn't really forcing the issue. He was just keeping right on the tail of Wojciech. And all it took was Wojciech getting a little nervous, losing focus, and in the corners where it's very common up through 5, where it's easy to try and overshoot it. And, you know, on the exit, that's the best way to do it. Everybody loves to try and see outbraking because it looks gutsy, it's very glamorous. But trying to out-accelerate someone is a smart way to go about it. And that's what you're seeing with the fan belt there.
So now Podosek has dropped back a little bit in 5th position. Actually, he's bringing Ingstrom back into the hunt here in 6th. We haven't heard much from him.
Yeah, Ingstrom's been a little bit quiet. We haven't seen a whole lot of him, and he's got a trail of cars right behind him. You can see Rickard Allard, Piers Kaki, who we're not used to seeing this far down, although he may come back into it later in the race. Bastian Huseman just behind him, Daryl B. Atkins, a couple of newcomers, couple of regulars that we're seeing mixed in here. So we'll have to keep an eye on this batch and see how it plays out.
Yeah, all the way back, there's a great battle that you just went through. 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th are all lined up nose to tail more or less.
Yeah, nobody's really more than about half a second apart in that gap. And here we go once again. Little bit of different lines coming through turn 5, really separating these guys, making a difference. Huseman backs off a little bit from Kaki, who's trying to get on the back of Rickard. He's got a good run coming out of 6. Is he going to try it into... No, he's not even close enough for the corkscrew.
Meanwhile, we're not missing anything up front. They're still holding position, so we'll stay on this battle here a little bit as they go through the corkscrew there.
And I think this is going to be important, Bill, because if you can get up to the front of this train and start to streak away, if one of these guys has better pace than being stuck in here implies, then that's going to be really important to give yourself a chance at the win, because they want to try and chase down that lead pack. You can see they're all just kind of hanging together while that lead pack is starting to get about 5-6 seconds away from them.
Tran still up in the lead, Hallberg in 2nd. Really, it's becoming not even so much a lead pack, it's almost becoming a lead 3 as Blixt is doing his very best to hang in there on the top 3. But those 3 guys are beginning to gap Vanderbilt. Now, Vanderbilt made it around Podosek to get up into 4th, but I'm not sure he's able to close right now as he's not being able to pick up any distance on Blixt. So the first 3 drivers are beginning to pull away. It's about 2 seconds back from 3rd to 4th back to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, it looks like Podosek was one of the ones that was holding on with that draft now the way that he, the way that he's being dropped. And as you mentioned, Vanderbilt not looking like he's able to close the gap quite yet. Maybe he waited a little too late. It's hard to tell this early on. There's still a lot of race to go through. And you know, one thing we didn't talk about is the lap traffic. This is not a terribly long lap, even in these slower cars. So with 70 minutes and 40 cars on track, these guys are going to have to try and navigate those blue flags, and that is going to be a skill that separates the men from the boys for sure.
Well, we're down to only 32 cars on track now, as we've lost several that have had that early problems. Turner, Burns, Sullivan, Figueres, Balassa is out, Smith, Paul, Corbin. So we've lost several drivers out. So we have 32 on track right now. That last car on the lead flag being Julian Ward, running in 32nd position. About a minute 17 behind the leader.
Look at these top 2. Hallberg was closing fast. I think he backed out of it, though. He could have had an opportunity. We're watching from Tuan Tran. He is really starting to put the pressure on. And the popcorn position is really Jonas Blixt in all of this. He's been giving them space. I think he's waiting to see what's going to happen before he closes on these guys.
Well, now, they're going to need a large amount of fuel on this. Now, in theory, since everybody starts with the same fuel tank and is full, everyone needs the same amount of fuel when they come in for a pit stop. But that's not always the case because Tran right now is burning more than Hallberg. So Hallberg might be thinking, you know, I'll just sit back here. I will take a slightly shorter pit stop because I won't need to take in as much fuel. Maybe I can get it done that way.
Yeah, and honestly, that's going to make a big difference, even if it's just a 1/10 of a second. That can be enough for him to get side by side coming out of the pits and make the pass. So you're right that's really just going to be a critical thinker's game throughout this race. If they don't have a crew chief, they better be really good being able to focus on driving and numbers at the same time.
And it really is a 3-car race now as Blixt, either he's hanging on to those drivers in front or pulling them around, but however he's doing it, he's increasing the gap all the way back to 4th place for Vanderbilt, who's now almost 2.5 seconds behind the 3 cars in front.
Now, I'm checking a little bit farther back. Piers Kaki, he has made a pass on Rickard Allard, so he's moving up. I kind of wondered if he was the fastest car in that train because he was just all over those guys. And usually he was among the fast ones in last season. So he was tending to fight for podiums or at least be close to the podiums. He's in 7th right now, trying to hunt down Mikael Engstrom. I think he's going to try and make a pass, Bill. Oh, no, he backs out of it.
Ingram's did a little bit of weaving there. Cocky didn't quite know where to make that move. But yeah, he's worked his way through those drivers that were behind him. And it wouldn't be surprising if he doesn't get by Engstrom here pretty quick and then see if he can run down the leaders.
Now, we heard that something went wrong with George Nutley. He was a little bit farther down the order, I think. And I think he spun off in turn 1 and then elected to give up. It sounds like we got the replay ready.
There we go. What do you see here, Joe?
Yeah, this is the one that I found. Coming down into turn 1, just gets a little bit too hard on the brakes, it looks like, and the rear end comes around on him, spins it to the inside pit exit, actually, and then he's already got some damage because his front wing is gone, so there must be something also wrong with the car and the way it's handling. He elected to take a tow into the pits.
Let's go back to this Ingram-Cocky battle here. It's starting to heat up a little bit. There's now Cocky also getting some pressure from the driver behind him there of Allard.
Yeah, the Scandinavian and the Brit of Engstrom and Cocky having a good battle, but it's definitely not been able to drop Rickard. So these guys are... I think Engstrom is definitely the cork in the bottle. It's not that the draft are allowing these guys to hold on. It's that they're being held up. They, again, have about a 6-second gap up to Vocek, who's dropping off from the leaders as well. So they're losing the leaders, though, even though they're not really losing Vocek too much. No attempts from Cocky this time around, not able to get close enough.
I'd like to get contact from Hallberg's crew chief, if it would be possible, if he could let me know when he's going to make a move on Tron. It's really... We're keeping one eye on the battle here mid-pack and then one eye on Hallberg, who feels like any second he's going to make a pass for the lead. We'll try to catch that one.
He's been setting him up for a long time. This is, he must have the patience of a saint, because it seems like he's had the pace to try and get up on him. He takes a little peek down into the corkscrew. And like you said, that's really not a passing zone, even though it can seem inviting. It goes wrong in so many ways if you try a pass there, unless you have cooperation.
Now, here's what's happened, though. Hallberg is beginning to gap. Blixt has been having a hard time just trying to hang on by his fingertips. But Hallberg, as we have lap track of now, as they negotiate around Julian Ward. We talked about him, the last car on the lead lap. So now he's down a lap. But
and look at the gap that Julian has caused here between Jonas Blixt and Hallberg. There is now about a 1.5 seconds between them. So I think he cost him a little bit of time. If I'm Hallberg, now that we're coming on lap traffic, was a little bit of a slide from Hallberg through the first corner. I would start looking at my F3 box, seeing what lap traffic is coming up and where we're going to hit them, because that can be probably his best chance to try and lunge up the inside of a distracted Tran.
Yeah, I'm going to estimate the pit window here with 65%. About halfway is 35. I would think it'd be anywhere from about 40 to 30 minutes. So I don't think they're in their window quite yet. But it's interesting. I just think Hallberg's just back there. I think he's happy where he is, just running in second, saving fuel, and being a pest.
Absolutely. He's not really been making serious attempts. I think anytime we see him peek out, it's more to just give himself a little bit of sight as to what's going on. Also to play it safe so that he doesn't run into the back of Tran. I kept telling you earlier that you don't want to damage the car, and that's the easiest way to do it. Just follow a little bit too closely, mess up your front wing, your nose cone. Suddenly you find yourself down on speed on the straightaway, and there goes all chance, any hope of Hallberg has of trying to make a pass.
We're going to go back to 11th position now and look at this long train. We're going to leave that. Again, we'll try to get this pass on the screen here. Long train back here started with Benjamin Hackwith in 11th. That goes all the way back to 15th position with Daniel DeVos.
That's Benjamin Hackison, I think, actually. is his name there at the front of the field. Martin Galanke just behind him. Not close enough right now, but definitely some very close stuff going on between Joachim Lundgren and Vincent Brame. Brame, our champion a couple seasons ago, but he's dropped down a little bit. Last season, we kept commenting that he didn't seem to have as much speed, but I think it was just that there was more talent around him that he had to fight for the wins and even top fives.
Yeah, I think what league organizers will find is the longer you're on GSRC and the more popular your series becomes, we talked about it, it draws in the talent. And they were surprised to have such a large field here today of about 41. The track only holds 46, so they almost had a full grid.
Yeah, a pretty big field here for Laguna Seca. And watching these guys, I'm looking at Joachim Lundgren. Is he missing his front wing, or is that just on my screen? He might have some damage. It's bent up here. I thought it was missing on my screen, so he's definitely got some damage on the front. It's not hurting him too badly because he's putting some pressure on Galanke, excuse me. Ooh, and there you can see Galanke getting a little squirrely coming through turn 6. Don't want to let the car get too far away from you coming through that corner. Which, I think it's difficult to see unless you're in the car and feeling it. Which, although I guess you can't technically feel it in the sim, is the car really bottoms out through that corner, Bill, and that's what makes it so scary. It makes it hard to predict what the car is going to do through that corner, and yet, like I said, you really have to be pushing it. So you're rolling the dice sometimes through that turn.
And try doing it with the front wing that's all that looks like spaghetti.
Wow, he got a good run coming out of that last corner. There you can see that draft reeling him in, giving that little bit of boost to speed. Martin stays to the outside. He is not going to fight this. And it looks like Lundgren's going to be able to have one more position up into 12th here.
There he goes.
Very nice pass.
Yep. And what was interesting to note there is that he got that pass done, finished before they got to the start-finish line. So there was, if you can get it right, and you're looking on the last lap, you could probably make a move there and still get it done before you get to the start-finish line if you're thinking about making a snag for the champion for the win there.
It's going to take a really good run from you and a really bad run from the competitor in front of you, though. It's not a very long run to that start-finish line, so I wouldn't base my strategy on trying to outgun them to the line.
That's why I was surprised that it happened. It must have been a horrible exit from the car he was passing.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we're watching Brame just a little bit behind him. It looks like Galanke might be holding these guys up, because now look at how close Brame and DeVos are. They are really starting to hassle that white and red machine of Galanke. Pulls away a little bit out of the corkscrew.
Meanwhile, we'll leave this for a second. Let's go to third position here with Johan Blixt. He's fallen off the lead. He's fallen back into the clutches of Vanderbilt now. Vanderbilt has run him down, running hotter laps. I don't think it'll be too long till Vanderbilt gets up into that podium spot.
We've got enough Johans up at the front, and Bill's trying to give us more. That's Jonas Blixt, actually. He's got Johan Vanderbilt right behind him. Johan's closed the gap now. You can see him. He's really pushing the limits of this track. He was right up to that red curb. And I don't know if our viewers have really been noticing those, but for those that haven't driven this track, that's for training purposes. This is a track that's used for teaching drivers who are learning to drive aggressively, to how to race. So it's not really meant to be used by drivers. They're very tall, and if you hit them too hard, you can unsettle the car. And look at this great run by Johan coming up the backstretch. I think he's going to make an attempt into the corkscrew. He has to go around the outside. And Blixt gives it up.
Got it done before the corkscrew. I think Blixt saw the writing on the wall there and just surrendered it. So now Vanderbilt into third. Blixt has dropped back into fourth.
Yeah, with about 47 minutes left on this thing, I think that he knew that the way that he caught him, there was no point in trying to fight him for the rest of the race. Let him go. Maybe tag on to the tail of the car in front and use the draft to run a little bit faster laps.
Yeah, actually, Blixt was running faster laps when he was able to hold on to the back of Hallberg. Then they got separated by lap traffic, and that was that started his his drop down into fourth. Now, I'm going to set a little number here for you. It's about 5 seconds from Hallberg back to Vanderbilt, so we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see if Johan can close in on Johan.
Boy, that is going to be fun to call between the two of these, which we've done before. It's always difficult when they share that same first name. At least we got a nickname with the fan belt. Now you can see Tuan Tran leading the way still. Led every lap so far, but not safely, not comfortably at all.
Oh, I guarantee you, I have 7 more of these races to call. Every one of these drivers is going to have a nickname by the time the season rolls around, so I don't have to worry about pronouncing all of these.
These guys are definitely push it. You saw that Hallberg also with a little bit of a wiggle coming through turn 6. And you really have to use, just sticks his nose in. Again, I don't think that's him actually attempting to pass. I think it's just he's trying to stay as close as he can and not have to give up too much. But I was going to say, coming through 6 like that, the other thing that you have to keep in mind is you got to use that lift throttle oversteer that we always talk about to really make it as fast as possible, because you want to rotate the car on the entry and then get on the power as soon as you can, almost before the apex, because you don't want to be waiting too long. That hill is really, really steep. As we ride on board, you'll get a sense of the elevation change around this track. It's so steep, and you got to just be punching the power down to try and carry the momentum. And you can see he's lifting before they get to the braking zone of turn 1.
Well, I've watched a lot of these races, and I honestly think, now it depends on how good he is on calculations, but I know that he's burning less fuel than Tran right now. Tran's been out there for 30 minutes, 25 minutes, leading the way.
Even if it's not a huge portion, it's enough, especially with early as he was lifting coming down the front stretch. If he's doing that every lap, that's going to pay off once they hit their pit stall.
Now that gap is held about 5 seconds back to Vanderbilt, so he's not losing any time as they go around the lap car there.
And I'm sorry, Pierre's Cocky just lost a position. He was under threat from Rickard Allard, and this is rare. We saw a mistake from Cocky go all the way off track into the runoff, had to save a slide, and that position went to Rickard. And you can see it on the replay. That's very uncommon for Pierre. He is usually, even though he hasn't had the pace to really challenge for the wins, he has just been so steady as she goes ever since he came into the league that I'm surprised to see him make a mistake like that.
The good news is the car wasn't damaged. That drops him down a little bit, now in the 8th position. He's got 6th position. He still's got Ingstrom's, which he was hunting down ahead of him.
I'm looking down the order to see if we got any close battles. Honestly, gladly enough, the top seems to be our closest one. However, 16th we're hearing is fairly close.
Neptune and Stacy in a nice little battle.
Actually, it looks like Stacy and Lucal are the ones that are close. The 17th and 18th. And Lucal, remember, he ran into trouble on that first braking zone, I should say, down into the Andretti hairpin as he looks around the outside, coming into the final corner here. And a mistake from the car in front. Frederick Neptune is going to make it a 3-car battle, I think.
That's why I called his name. I knew Neptune was going to be in this battle, so now you have a 3-car.
And there you see the difficulty of trying to pass into the Andretti hairpin. All Stacy had to do was take the normal line, and you take away that inside line. Oh! Was that on purpose, or did he just outbrake himself? And Neptune got out of the way. It's not over yet because we got him side by side with Lucal. And look at Neptune come back. That was a brilliant dive down into 3 there. That's not there's not a lot of braking into 3, so that was impressive. Lucal coming up to the inside of Stacy. Can he finally get this one done? He was looking about 5 corners ago. He's on the outside down into turn 5. Trying to carry that speed around that banking, giving him just enough room. And as I was saying, Lucal's got that damage from the lap 1 incident. So he might be carrying a little bit less top speed. Finally gets it done up into 6. Really clobbers that inside red curb though.
While we were watching this, Hallberg got loose a little bit and dropped back a little bit on Tran. He's lost a little position as he made a mistake. I think he's going to be able to get it back.
Yeah, it looks like he's already just closed the gap a little bit. just about 8/10 behind him.
It was as they were heading up into the corkscrew. We saw it before where Hallberg is very fast into the corkscrew. Go back and look at Cocky here.
Is Cocky making a regular? Yes, it looks like Cocky's making his regular stop. And you and I were talking about this. I'm going back to see his pit entry to see how he did. That pit entry, it's a hairpin basically that you're coming in. So you have to maximize it like a regular corner. He didn't get very close to the barrier, so I don't think he pushed it too hard. And Cocky's already done and coming out, it looks like. Oh, Hallberg with an off coming through 6, we can see on screen. Wonder if Hallberg's pushing a little bit harder now.
Yeah, that's his second off. We talked about the one before. Now he's had another one. He's dropped back a little bit, about a second behind Tran.
Now here's with guys making slightly earlier stops. We still got 41 minutes left, so a fair bit. This is the trouble they're going to run into. Pierre Cocky comes out in 22nd, I'm seeing. So he might have to overtake some traffic. He's got Mateusz Tuleja in front of him. And that's the risk you run with trying to leapfrog guys by pitting a little bit earlier.
And not only do you have to overtake them, even though you're faster, they're not. It's a fight for position. So those guys are not seeing
blue flags.
They're not seeing a blue flag, which is very frustrating to the guy. They have no idea what your status is. They think they're battling, so they're not going to pull over for you.
And you get two different types in that. They're the ones that say, you know, I've got a long race. This is not my fight. They're faster than me because they've made their stop and now they're behind me. So I'll just let them by. They're the more passive types. And then you got the types that are frustrating. Those are the guys that say, every position counts. I am going to fight you the whole way because if I can hold you back, that's another position I get, even though it's a long shot to try and make that work. But, you know, it's the different mental attitudes, and that's where running in a league comes into play. You have to get to know what kind of driver you're up against and know what kind of fight you're going to have.
And again, that's one of the disadvantages to the first race of the season. You may not know, if you're unfamiliar with the drivers, you may not realize that guy was just a lap ago was running in the top 10, and now he's running in 22nd. For all you know, you're battling a guy that's coming up. So that's where it gets kind of strange. And as the season goes on, you get more familiar with the drivers around you, and it's easier to understand what the race is actually doing.
And I'm looking at the leaders, Tuan Tran lapping Gianno Raspaldo. He's going to let both of them by. Hallberg gets through, gets back to the line in time, so I don't think either of them had their lap time hurt. But this is the other side of that coin. If you pit early and you get back into traffic, at this point in the race, it seems like our leaders are starting to hit some lapped guys. So it's kind of, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. You have to figure out which one is going to lose you less time.
What's encouraging for them is the cars up ahead of them, all the lap traffic, seem to be pretty singular entities, not in a battle.
And illustrating it right now, Pierre Cocky already up on the back of Mateusz. And he's not letting him by, up into the corkscrew at least. He's going to get some good passing zones. Let's see how hard Tuleja tries to fight him. Coming around fast, turn 10, down into the hard braking zone of the final corner. I don't think Pierre's is close enough. He might be trying to set him up here, get himself a good exit, and it looks like that's what he's trying to do as he closes in on the back. And Tuleja very early on showing what he's deciding to do, which is take the defensive line. Pierres comes up to the outside using that draft. Let's see if he can outbrake him. And he does so cleanly. Tuleja gives it up.
Tuleja moving up into Cockney moving up into 21st position now. Actually, yes, and Tuleja dropping down into 22nd. So there's one spot now. Who's he have ahead of him there? It's
Joel Stampley. And he's closed on him very fast, despite having to make a pass just a few corners ago. This is the difference you're seeing between our leaders and our mid-packers here.
Now, the good news for Cocky is these guys should be pulling off little by little. These guys ahead of them should be peeling off into the pits. And as a card-holding member of Backmarkers United, when I see this happening, a lot of times this is my call to pit if I see I'm under pressure. I know I have a pit stop ahead of me.
Let's jump to Frederick Neptune. He is in a great battle with Eric Lukel. They were trying to go side by side through Rainy Curve. Not easy, and it's not over yet. Coming down to the final corner. Lukel going defensive way over to the line. Barely gave enough space to Neptune. I never like doing that. I like to try and leave just a little bit of space in case that guy outbreaks himself. But a terrible exit on the final corner looks like is going to give it to Neptune here. Oh yeah, he's sliced up there. Lukel is feisty today, though.
Yeah, Neptune really closed the door there on that one. Came across him there. Neptune in 15th, Lukel in 16th.
I don't think Lukel's giving this one up, though. He's holding on to the tail of Neptune. I don't think he's going to close. Yeah, he's not going to close enough to try and make a pass into 5 here. Just behind them, they do have James Stacy. Now, I believe we saw these three fighting a little bit earlier in the race, so these guys have not been able to get away from each other.
And while that's going on, your top 5 drivers have all decided to go one more lap as we are 35 minutes. We're at the halfway point right now.
I'm looking down the order, and if I'm seeing correctly, Piers Kaki is our only driver so far. Oh, no, it looks like Jeff Reeder has made a pit, according to this. So we've had a couple guys make their pit stops, but not many are electing to pit early. Everybody's waiting a while here. Looks like Reeder has some damage, though, so that might not have been a scheduled pit stop. And just as I say that, Lukel decides to get out of the battle, and he is coming in for his scheduled stop.
So maybe we'll keep an eye on him and see if Kaki can get past Lukel. Let's see if we can find Kaki, because that's really the battle for the cars that are leading. He's made the pass. So Kaki is your leader of all the cars who've pitted so far.
DeVos and Brame have also stopped in. It looks like we're getting a few cars finally coming in. 34 minutes left. Just about 35. So it looks like maybe everybody's electing for this first one before the strategy has made itself obvious to just pick the logical way to go and split it in half.
Yeah, I'm almost worried that I'm sure he's done the math. I'm always worried that Kaki may have come in too early. That was really the front part of the window, I would think.
Yeah, some of that comes down to driver preference. Some guys like to try and get it in early and then run it to the end. Other guys... Whoa, and just behind him, do we have a battle going on there? Sounds like Stanfleet might have had a little bit of action. Oh, yeah, I'm going back and watching on my screen. He saved quite a slide coming up through turn 5. Credit to Matus Tuleja as well for managing to avoid him there. You could just see the tail end of it on the replay. Not as obvious from that angle, but that car was all over the place. And he had another off, I think. Oh, and
yeah,
a big off coming through Rainy. That car was all the way around. Thankfully, he took it off the racing line. I don't think anybody was coming anyways. There you can see. That's a little bit happier way to take Rainy if you lose it through there, is to just kind of let it slide to a stop on the outside than trying to gun it around the outside and lose it like we saw... who was it? Was it Burns? Yeah, it was Burns earlier on in the race.
Let's go back up to our leaders now. I think it might be time. We might have Hallberg making a move here. I got a feeling he's right on the tail of Tran, and if he wants it, it's his to take right now. He has a great exit out of that corner. No, he doesn't. The lead was his for the taking, and he clearly just decided that he's going to stay back.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious he's looking for maybe a pit stop leapfrog maneuver here.
Oh, we have the car. What happened was Julian Ward, right behind them, was the lap car running in 31st position, who just spun. As you can see, some of the other leaders going around, and Vanderbilt just got around Ward. Ward they got to Ward in the corkscrew, the leaders did, And that's what bunched them all up.
That's always the difficult and frustrating thing when you're driving, is not having control of where you catch those lapped cars. Because if you catch them in those technical sections, unless they're really, really polite and pull over, you can't, you can't try and force a move, because that's probably more risky than trying to slow up and maybe giving the guy behind you an opportunity.
Yeah, if you're a back marker, you almost want to try to think ahead a couple corners and try to get that. You can lift on the straight and make sure that you don't have them catch you. But honestly, sometimes it's impossible to tell the closing speed.
Yeah.
Sometimes, where are they going to get me?
Well, and even though I wouldn't call myself a backmarkers anonymous like you, Bill, but I've been laughed my fair share of times. I tend to kind of keep an eye on that F3 if I'm a backmarker and gauge how many tenths or seconds per lap that they're catching me, and that will give me an idea of where they're going to get me on the course. And like you said, if I see them within a certain point and I know that we're coming up to that technical section as Vanderbilt heads in, I prefer to just kind of lift, especially if I'm not in a battle, give up some time, let those guys through. There's no point in compromising both of our races.
Okay, so here's really our first leader that was running up front. Vanderbilt was running in third position. Let's see if we can find Cocky and see where he is right now, if he even has a chance, as he's just going through the hairpin the corkscrew, right now.
Yeah, I don't think he was close enough. He was a ways back from Vanderbilt. And in fact, Vanderbilt is already moving. Yeah, he's not even going to be close to him. Podezek came in for his stop. Engstrom came in for his stop. A lot of top guys now finally taking their pit stop. I think you're right, though. Vanderbilt is our highest stopper at this point. Just ahead of him now is Bastian Huseman, hasn't made his. Jonas Blixt hasn't made his. Hallberg and Tran. So only the top four ahead of him.
And no, we have one leader coming in. Tran has decided to come in. Now, what's interesting here is Hallberg's going to stay out, but he's got a lap car ahead of him. He doesn't want to be slowed down by Liam Quinn. So Hallberg wants to have a hot lap here if he can.
And curiously enough, Liam Quinn is the teammate to Vanderbilt. Now, I don't think these are not the type of guys to make dirty tactics, so he's not going to try and hold him up intentionally. But I'm fairly sure he's not going to just leap out of the way here with that blue flag in his mirrors.
Yeah, well, he's caught Quinn in a not very good spot here.
And he's not getting close enough to try and overtake him.
Should be able to get it done. Should be able to duck in and get it done here if he does it quickly. No. Oh, that's costly there. This is costly.
Yeah, you can see as we ride on board with Quinn just how close he's getting. Quinn goes a little off, and that's going to be the cue for him to slip on by. Now, Tran is back out, and Vanderbilt, it looks like, has the gap at about 8.5 seconds. So I'm not sure if Vanderbilt is going to be able to, unless he's got some speed that he was holding on to, if he's going to be able to run down Tran here today.
Yeah, that's about the gap that they had when they came in, so they're going to come out just about where they are. Now, Hallberg sat back there for 35 minutes waiting, had this plan in mind, and then it all may have gone awry there from just having a lap car. Now he's coming in.
There goes Hallberg.
He's going to need less fuel, and we'll see if that makes up the distance, the time that he lost behind Quinn.
This is going to be critical. He's got to hit his marks just right.
Tran just going through the corkscrew right now.
Keeping an eye on Hallberg as we see him on screen. See if he hits his marks right. Perfect, it looks like. No backing up. Tran really pushing it. You can see using every inch of the track and then some.
Tran just going around 11. Now he's on the straight. Hallberg is rolling. Yes, now he's rolling.
I think that lap traffic hurt him. And he's got more lap traffic in front of him now. There goes Tran. And Tran has actually gapped Hallberg instead.
Yeah, Hallberg actually has lap traffic in pit lane. That's Stamfley ahead of him that I think slowed him down even on pit exit. Hallberg did there.
There's not a huge difference, but there's a little bit of a difference there after those pit stops. Stamfley moving out of the way now, going a little bit wide. Smooth move by Hallberg there, coming through turn 4. Now, Jonas Blixt has come in and has taken his stop. Is he the final stopper, actually? Actually, I thought I saw him in quite a while ago. I know it looks like, I'm looking at the replay, he had an off coming in, but it was a no harm, no foul sort of situation. Just took a trip through the gravel.
Yeah, he's going to exit in about 16th position, maybe 17th, and he was running up near the top 5 before the pit cycle.
I'm seeing actually on my timing and scoring, he's had 2 stops. I wonder if he got a penalty along the way? Maybe he had to get a black flag cleared?
Yeah, actually, he's going to drop in behind Liam Quinn, who we saw was the lapped car that was ahead of Hallberg when the pit cycle started.
Now, the gap between Hallberg and Tran, now that the pit stops are done, is 2 seconds. I think that's the largest we've seen it the entire race. So almost complete opposite of what we expected. We thought that Hallberg was going to leapfrog him.
Yeah, whether it was just a poor pit stop or was the lap traffic, it shouldn't have been fuel because he was running behind him for 40 minutes, so he should have been quicker. Now, here's the deal. We've seen Hallberg make mistakes behind Tran before, and he was able to run him down. So now he's going to have to do it. He's got 24 minutes to get there if he is indeed faster. Might be.
It seemed like he was faster for most of the race, so we could be on for a great battle here.
Hallberg might be rethinking those times where he had a chance to take the lead and decided better of it. He might be wishing he had done that.
I'm taking a look back at Jonas Blixt because he is very much out of position. I'm looking at his fastest lap compared to the cars around him. He's over a second faster than these guys, according to fastest laps at least. Although it seems like he's being a little held up by Liam Quinn. He hasn't really closed on him. But I expect that Jonas is going to, unless he's got some damage, try and slice through these guys and make up whatever put him farther down the order. And I'm looking at the lap timing. It looks like in that... oh, no, I'm sorry, that's Liam Quinn. This Blixt, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong car's laps. As it looks like Blixt is trying to make a move. He's going to have to go on the outside of 5. Not able to get it done.
Yeah, I think he's going to get it done here. I think Blixt is going to be faster. We can keep an eye on him maybe for these last 23 minutes.
This is brave. Wow. Nice job by both drivers, and they're still side by side coming up to the corkscrew. Is someone going to finally be able to get it done? Jonas Blixt tries to outbrake him. Nobody's giving up still. Quinn trying to hold on to the outside, but there's no dice this time around. Although Blixt goes a little bit wide around the exit, they're going to go side by side again into Rainy Curve. Another difficult one to hold on to it. Quinn just squirming, trying to keep that car together, and just behind them, Neptune has caught up. And now, finally, Quinn gives up the ghost. Neptune gives the opportunity coming around the outside of 10. Says, thank you, I'll try and get that down into 11. And finally seals the deal.
Liam Quinn is one stubborn driver. Even though he lost those positions, he does not go gently into that good night.
Yeah. Now, Matus Tuleja had a heart stopper about 30 seconds ago, just behind them coming into Rainy Curve. All by himself, and the rear end came around. Gonna look at a replay, it looks like. That seems to be one of the ones that's given a lot of people trouble. We've seen a few cars off there now. There you can see rear end just starts to loop around. And with the compression at the bottom of the hill, that's going to be really hard to recover from.
Just an update on your leaders there as we're looking there at Tran. He's Hallberg's not able to gain any positions at all, any time at all now. It's almost opened up about 2.25 seconds, so he's not doing much. Time running out on him. About 8 seconds now back, and maybe we can do a top 10 here. Tran up in front, Hallberg running in second position. Then you're about 8 seconds back to your Vanderbilt running in third, who has a 9-second lead over Potosek. Then the driver we saw earlier, Cocky, running in
Cocky's
fifth
moved
position.
up to fifth. That's what I more expect of him usually.
None of these drivers within 5 seconds of each other. All hard running in sixth. Ingstrom in seventh.
And you've got Bastian Huseman in eighth. He's actually pretty close to him. That's the closest battle up at the top that we're seeing. Hackison in 10th, about 5 seconds back. Lundgren rounds out the top 10. Nice little run for him. We've seen him a little bit here and there, but otherwise that bent front wing hasn't seen much action in quite a few laps, at least on screen.
Real good battle back here for 11th between Atkins, DeVos, and Bream.
Now, as we watch this battle, I know the chickens haven't hatched yet, Bill, but I'm looking at the top 3 positions, and do you remember what my picks were there?
I think it was Tran, Hallberg, and Vanderbilt. Nice job.
Yeah.
You like the new segment.
I'm trying to prove my worth here. Still watching Tran. And you can see in the background Hallberg trying to stalk him, trying to gather back together that gap that he had lost in the pit stops. Hallberg is a little bit newer to the series than Tran is, but they've both had plenty of time by now, I think, to really nail down the strategy of the stops, even though it's slightly different with a little bit bigger fuel tank this season. So I wouldn't think that'd make that much of a difference with Tran having, I want to say, maybe 3 or 4 more races than Hallberg in this series under his belt.
Got a great battle back here for 11th. Atkins, DeVos, his best battle on the track in Bream, a 3-car battle. Atkins is really being pressured by DeVos. Atkins using the whole track from the inside to the outside.
And in the popcorn position, there's Vincent Brame sitting in 13th. I'm sure he's going to want these guys to start duking it out here in the final laps. We got about 20 minutes left. Both of them get a little squirrely coming through 5.
And they go through 6, and this is where I got to give it was Quinn who did a great job where they went 2 by 2. And look at the exit there that DeVos has now through 6. I hate that corner.
Oh, I thought Atkins was going to go defensive, but he lifted very early and let DeVos have that 11th spot. Lifted so early that now Vincent Brame has gotten up to the back of him. Oh, and he goes wide coming through Rady. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. That's got to make Brame nervous. You never like to see a car ease up on the exit of that corner, taking that normal line away from you.
Yeah, I think Daryl Atkins was driving his little Skippy for all it was worth there, but had to slip back into 13th position now. So that looks like that's settling down.
Atkins going to need a diet for his position numbers as they continue to climb through the order there.
Oh my.
Now, Brame hasn't been able to catch up to DeVos quite yet. Let's see what he's got now that he's got Atkins out of his way. A little bit farther up, I see a battle going on for 7th. Bastian Huseman and Ingstrom. Coming up the hill towards the corkscrew, it looks like. He's not within position to attack right now. He's definitely keeping him under pressure, though.
I've been watching this. Ingstrom has Houston has ran him down. Ingstrom was ahead there in the. You got the blue car? Is it blue on your screen?
It's blue.
Yeah.
Huseman is in green.
Yeah, Houston has closed the gap there.
In fact, I'm trying to figure out if Huseman has got a classic Benetton paint scheme on that car or not here. Hard to tell from the onboard as we... There we go. If not, it looks like it might be in reference to it. It is, in fact, a Benetton scheme, so very nice. Still kind of holding it about just over half a second, 3/4 of a second behind Engstrom.
And both those drivers not that far behind Allard in 6th position.
Allard's a new guy in this series, or at least I don't recall seeing him in the Neagle Cup last season. So this is a good result for him. In fact, I think he's the highest placed rookie I'm seeing so far. So maybe Ricard is the one we need to keep an eye on. Could be a contender. This is only one race, though. He's still got 7 more after this that he's got to prove himself in.
This series we'll see a variety. We'll see the 70 minutes, what they call the endurance, and then the regular normal races that are going to be 45 minutes. We're going to go back to P17 here for a look at this battle between Quinn and Neptune. They're still at it.
And Neptune's trying to look to the inside into 6. We saw Quinn do this before. He's trying to hold the outside. Does it once again. Neither of them really getting an advantage on the exit. Coming up to the corkscrew. Neptune could have the inside. Track goes a little bit to the right. No, he's going to give it up.
Okay, Liam Quinn. Now, we're supposed to say I'm biased, but boy, he is my new favorite driver. He is one great boy, and he gets it loose as they go. He is one stubborn guy. He's able to go 2 wide through 6.
He certainly likes some side-by-side racing and is not afraid of it. Gets a bad exit out of 10. Here comes Neptune looking to the outside. Quinn keeps that defensive line, but this is where it really hurts you, is the exit of the final corner, where now that drag race down to Andretti, and you can see already that Neptune's got the inside. Could be a dumb deal here.
But Quinn likes to go 2 wide through these corners. He likes the outside. Not going to happen, though, here.
I was going to say, the Andretti hairpin, it's so hard to hold the outside. He does get himself a good exit, but with it switching back, Neptune's got the inside here into 3. Oh, man, wow. Very aggressive from Quinn. Almost got into the back of Neptune coming through 3. We were talking about, trying to remember who it was that I said earlier was feisty. Quinn is feisty today as well. This time he's not going to go side by side through 6. And Neptune really using every inch of the track. Can be dangerous sometimes, sticking your wheels in the dirt out there. Quinn had a really good run, but it was just too little too late. Into the corkscrew still. Neptune went defensive.
With 13 minutes left, this is really the best battle on the track right now.
This is a great battle between these two. No quarter given, no quarter asked. Hearing that there's a battle for P11 that's just about the same distance apart. That's Vincent Brame and Daniel DeVos. I think we were watching it a little bit earlier. You can see him on screen. DeVos in the blue and black machine. Green and black for Brame.
We'll stay on this battle. The battle that we were watching there with Engstrom and Huseman has toned down a bit, so not mentioning anything there.
A little bit of a wheel off in the dirt once again, just like we saw before with Quinn and Neptune. Except I think Bram is not going to try and stick his nose in there. And from on board, you really get a good sense of how blind that corkscrew is. Now, thankfully, the Skippy's pretty wide open, so you can still spot things a lot easier than some of the other cars that are a little bit more enclosed.
When I was first started iRacing, I had a horrible time with the corkscrew. It wasn't until I got into the Skippy that I finally really understood exactly what I was doing out there.
We've got a few battles that have started to close up. We've jumped over to P15. Martin Galenicki and Jonas Blix. Blix still trying to make his run through the field.
Blix was running up as he's going to make this, I think, pretty comfortably here. So let's,
Oh, no. Didn't quite outbreak him, but I think Martin gave him so much room that it was a done deal anyways.
Blix was fast. He qualified third, but then ran into trouble, so working his way back up now into 15th position.
That's always tough in that first race of the season. You got a lot of new guys that you haven't raced with before. Martin doesn't know how hard he can race Jonas probably, as he gets a good run coming out of 4, but he backs off of it. And I think he gave him that much room because he didn't know, he doesn't know how well he can trust Jonas. Is he going to be able to turn in a certain time? What's his line usually like? So he's got to play it safe. All he knows is that he closed up on him so that he's faster. So if when he got that run, I think that was a smart move by Martin. Just let him have the inside. Don't fight him too hard. Give him a little bit of space and then see how it shakes out after you let him through.
Going into this battle again here for 12th position with Atkins and DeVos.
DeVos right on top of him, yeah. Gets a great run. That draft helping him. Looks like Atkins is going to let him have the inside down into Andretti. He's got a nose ahead even before the braking zone. And it looks like Atkins is just going to slide in position into 13th.
Joe, we talk about passing zones, but it really starts to become obvious when we start going to all these battles, battle here, battle there. They all seem to take place pretty much, they're all decided at the Andretti hairpin.
It's the most straightforward passing spot you've got. Even though I'd say it's maybe a little bit more clear of what line people are going to take coming into the final corner, into 11. Into Andretti, it's a lot heavier braking. You've got a lot more time to try and set it up. So that's why you're seeing so many guys try it into there.
We can close the chapter here on the battle between Neptune and Quinn. Looks like Neptune has got that one done. Pulling away now.
Now I'm taking a look at the gaps. Hallberg hasn't closed things significantly, but he's chopped off about half a second on Tuan Tran. I don't know if Tran made any sort of mistake somewhere along the way.
Yeah, quite a bit. The lead now is under 2 seconds. It was up to about 2 1/4. I'd say it knocked off about half a second.
It looks like a couple laps ago, Tran was held up by traffic. He was trying to get by Giano Rispaldo, and that may be what had an effect on it. He was about a second slower that lap, I think.
Tran now has another lapped car here, but it looks like he's going to catch him at a good time. If he can get this done, he has Tulea ahead of him. Gap down to now just about 1.5 seconds. And probably close enough for Hallberg to start to get a whiff of the toe.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing here for Tran, is he wants to try and manage that gap. He doesn't want this traffic to hold him up too much each time. And there you see Tuleja pull off to the left side. And this is what he wants, is to keep Tuleja between himself and Hallberg. Just keep that car between you. That'll help immensely here in the closing stages. He's got 7 minutes left. Tran knows that he's been able to keep that distance pretty well. So at this point, it's just focusing, hitting your marks, not try to slow down, but keep the pace up so that you don't, that danger that drivers always like to talk about is when you go slow, that's when you make mistakes. That's what Tran's trying to do now, is keep the pace up. Don't try and ease up now.
Well, it's down to under 1.5 seconds down. I'm looking at like 1.3 right now. So Hallberg is coming. Is how quickly he can get around the lap car ahead of him there will be very important.
Might be catching him at the perfect spot here because he's still got about half a second up to the lapped car of Taleja here. Yeah, this is going to be perfect because if Taleja lifts coming down the front stretch, he's not going to hold him up at all. In fact, he's going to get possibly a bit of a draft to make him go a little faster. But is Taleja going to lift? It doesn't look like he's going to. He's going to hold position, so this is not what Hallberg wants now. Oh, but lap traffic up ahead of Tran. That's Edgar Sanchinelli. He lets all of them by.
And Taleja gets out of the way at the exact same place he got out of the way the last lap.
Yeah, so fair play. Should have been an equal amount of time lost to both of them then.
1.2 seconds now, the gap. He is coming.
Unfortunately, I didn't get some time to run with other cars around, so I don't know at what point that draft really starts to reel you in. Now it's down to about a second. So he could be getting, like you said, just a little bit of it, but I don't know if he's going to be close enough. It might only just allow him to keep the distance rather than close in.
Now ahead of Tran is Mr. Excitement, Liam Quinn, currently running 18th in the last car on the lead lap. It's going to be a little ways before Tran gets there because Quinn runs a pretty good pace.
And Quinn, as I said earlier, is the teammate to Johan van der Belt. Those guys, if they want that team championship, they're going to have to find Quinn either some pace or cut out whatever mistakes might have put him this far down.
Oh, Tran with a horrible really wide. It's down now under a second now to Hallberg.
And this is where you're going to see what these top guys are made of. When you get down to the final laps, this is what I will admit is one of my weaknesses. When I'm chasing a car, we've only got a few laps to go. You know that your chances are going to be limited to make that pass, and you've got to be so precise. You've got to really set things up. You can't just dive in at any opportunity, because then if you botch it, next thing you know, you've lost about half a second on the car in front, and you don't have enough time to close it back in on them. So this is where they've not only got to be really patient, but they've got to be really observant of where their best chance is going to be and snatch it up. This is not the place that Tran wants to catch him, coming up through 6. Oh, he goes a little bit wide. I think he was unsighted through there.
Yeah, he's not going to get this done before the corkscrew.
It's down to half a second. He gained a lot there. Down to under half a second now. Hallberg is back in the game.
And we've seen it before. Hallberg is really, I know it's not a passing zone, but Hallberg makes up all of his time under braking into the corkscrew.
Quinn's got to let him by here. Yes, he does. He pulls over, lets them both through. Oh! Was there contact?
I think there was, and it really, really killed Hallberg's corner exit there.
Let's watch the replay from on board. Let's see if we can tell how hard he touched him there. Oh, that's always really frustrating when that back marker pulls off in the braking zone and you're trying to deal with the battling with the car in front of you. Because Tran had to brake a little bit earlier with that inside line, and that could be what messed up Hallberg as he closes in. Just the lightest of touches.
Yeah, Hallberg's front wing now is bent up.
don't think that'll affect him too badly. I'm looking at it, because even Tran's wing is bent up just a little bit. You can see it on screen. Still within that half a second. I think these guys are going to get the white flag this time by. It's going to be very tight.
Frederick Neptune ahead of Tran, and he might be catching him. They might get there.
And Neptune's the teammate of Hallberg. Ooh, this is going to get very interesting, Bill. Again, you like to assume that everybody is very sportsmanlike, that nobody plays anything dirty, but there's always that thought in the back of your mind, is he going to let me by easy? And there you go. There's some great sportsmanship from Neptune.
So we have a minute. It's going to be about a minute when they cross here. Are they going to give him the white flag this time? Yes. So this is it.
Last chance for Hallberg. He's too far back for Andretti. Only other chances I think he's going to have are into turn 5. Maybe if he can outgun him up into 6. The corkscrew and then the final corner. Those are the only chances I think he's really going to get unless there's a mistake from Tran. A little bit wide from Hallberg. He's pushing hard.
What worries me is I think Hallberg feels more confident as they go under braking into the corkscrew. Let's see if he tries to get it done there.
Closing in up into 5. Look at the braking down into 5. Right up on the rear spoiler. Oh, this is perfect. If he can get a good run out of 6, all he has to do is make Tran nervous.
Got held up a little bit. Had to check him a bit.
Yeah, that ruined his run. I don't think he's close enough. It's going to take a really late dive, and that's going to be very risky. He stays in line. All right, one more chance for him. It's going to be the final corner, do or die time.
We talked about it before. Tran needs a good exit.
Hallberg not able to close up. He's not close enough.
Tran will need to make a mistake here. Hallberg needs a pretty good run from Hallberg. Pretty good run. Hallberg's fighting, but that start-finish line is going to come too quickly.
Oh, he's got a really good run. Oh, it was so close, but it goes to Tran.
We talked about it earlier in the race, how quickly that start-finish line comes after the final corner. Wasn't enough room. If they would have had that start-finish line down at the end of the straight, it would have been interesting. Tran is your winner. Hallberg finishes second. Ben Belt third.
I think if it was maybe about 20 yards up the road, I think that would have been Hallberg's race. Good shout out to Podizek as well. He finished 4th. We didn't give him a lot of time. He was kind of all by his lonesome for most of the race.
I had Cocky in 5th position, but he had some trouble. He's in the pits right now. I'm not sure he was...
Maybe out of fuel?
He was running in 5th, and then he cut the corkscrew. I think he's out of fuel. I think he had to cut the corkscrew in an attempt to coast in.
Maybe he had a black flag from cutting the corkscrew? This is really unusual. Well, regardless, as they crossed the line, 5th went to Allard, newcomer. Great finish, top 5 in his first race. Bastian Huseman in 6th. Engstrom in 7th. Boy, we talked about how the talent just went up last season, Bill. It I think doubled again this time.
Yeah.
Even the guys that have improved their pace are looking at stretching it for a top 10.
Looking for a battle of anybody. I think everybody is. Do we have a battle for 14th, or is it over? It looks like they're already on their white flag. So all the drivers have finished. Let's take a break right now. We'll be a short break, come back. We'll do interviews, a total rundown of the field, and then closing credits. Back very shortly. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing Channel's post-race show of the Absolute Beginner League, the Nagel Formula Nagel. Round 1 was just finished. We're going to give you the rundown of all the finishers right now. How many were there? All 40 of them, 39 of them. At the top, your winner, Tuan Tran. Johan Hallberg in second. Another Johan Vanderbilt in third, followed by Jacek Potosek. I'm going to get that name before this series is over. Ricard Allard in fifth. Hussein in sixth. Ingstrom in seventh. Hackison in eighth. Lundgren in ninth. And rounding out the top 10, he had a top 5 and it fell backwards. Piers Cocky. Joe?
Disappointed that I have to be a self-professed fan of Cocky after his performance last season. Vincent Brame finished in 11th, Daniel DeVos in 12th, and Daryl Atkins in 13th. Eric Lukel gave us some good battles throughout the race. He finished in 14th, followed by Jonas Blixt, who had some problems we didn't quite catch, had to work his way back through the field, came home 15th. Martin Galenicki finished in 16th, followed by Frederick Neptune in 17th. Liam Quinn, Bill's favorite, came home in 18th. Matus Leha in 19th, and James Stacy came home in the top 20.
Joel Stempfli and Lauren Murphy make up 21st and 22nd. Rickard Colomb in 23rd. Bruce Poole in 24th. 25th and 26th go to Edgar Sancinelli and Giovanni Raspaldo. In 27th, Julian Ward. 28th, 29th, and 30th go to Jeff Reeder, Adam Bradshaw, and Andy Morgan, respectively. Joe?
And 31st, we start to get into the drivers that had problems in the race. 21 laps down was Ricky Green. Gregory Nutley finished in 32nd, followed by Jack Turner in 33rd. David Burns came home in 34th, followed by Stephen O'Sullivan in 35th, Mark Figueres in 36th, and Peter Balassa in 37th. Rounding out the field in 38th, Stefan Schmidt. 39th was Stephen Paul. Merrick Tomilowicz in 40th, and Scott Corbin in 41st. And that is your field for round one.
Move to your channel.
Okay, we're going to be able to track down here our second place finisher today, Johan Hallberg. We have a couple questions for him. Johan, do you have a copy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, congratulations. You couldn't quite get it done. I've got a couple questions for you. First of all, let's go to the last part of the race where you're running down Tuan. Couldn't quite get him. Where did you think your best chance was to make the pass for the victory?
Tuan Tran is too fast for me at this track, so I didn't really think that I would pass him. But I guess it should be the start-finish line after the last corner, I guess, when I try to make my move.
We were talking, we thought if the start-finish line was maybe another 50 yards down the way, you would have had him. Also, you were very fast going into the corkscrew. You comfortable with the corkscrew here? Under braking, you were always able to close up.
No, I hate that corner. It seems like I have problems with that corner, but if you say that I'm fast, then I don't know why.
I think it's a matter maybe you hate it less than the other drivers. Let's go to the beginning of the race. It looked like you had a couple opportunities to pass. You decided that you were going to sit back. Was that your strategy, to sit in second behind Tuan for the first part of the race?
Yeah, that was kind of my plan, because I decided not to pass him because Tran was very fast. So I decided not to pass him to get away from the other packs. So to get this head start so I can battle him in the end of the race.
And finally, I think the turning point of what cost you maybe a chance for the lead was when you stayed out that extra lap, you ran into some serious traffic and couldn't get much of a hot lap in while he was in the pits.
Yeah, I kind of lost a second there, I think. So the traffic was really... There were a lot of cars, so the traffic was unavoidable, let's say.
Well, congratulations on second place. It's not a victory, but the runner-up spot is a great way to start the season. Good luck to you the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Johan Hallberg, our second place finisher today. Joe, who do you got?
I've got Johan Vandenbeld, our third place finisher. We're going to talk to him about how his race went. Johan, we call you the fan belt. I feel like we need to start calling you Mr. Podium with how many you've been racking up. Now, we noticed that you started the race, you qualified in 6th, and you were kind of slowly working your way up through, but it seemed like you were very patient in the early parts. Do you regret waiting a little long to try and get by guys, or were you actually trying to hustle so that you could get up to the top of the field?
I don't think I'm disappointed by it. We have a huge grid today, like so many drivers, and I didn't really know where I would stand. I had P6 in quali, and I thought I would belong on that place. Luckily, I could get by Richard in turn 1. A little while later, Wojtek made a mistake, so I could go to P4, and a few laps later, I could overtake Jonas in P3, and that was kind of unexpected for me. I didn't think that I would be able to close up to them that quickly. So yeah, maybe I'm disappointed that I didn't do it earlier, but I tried it. I tried my best, and I tried to get by them as quickly as possible. But I couldn't. That's just the thing. I couldn't get by them quicker.
Yeah, we were watching you at the start, and we did take notice of that pass that you mentioned. Was that intentional, trying to outbrake everybody around the outside, or was that just kind of accidental luck?
No, that was 100% intentional. I saw everybody going to the inside of the corner. So I saw 3-4 car whiffs on the right. So I thought, well, I'll just brake like 20-30 meters later. I tried to overtake Wojtek, but I overshot myself a little bit too much. Maybe maybe it was a good thing, because if Wojtek slid a little bit up the road, we would have touched if I didn't outbrake myself. But it was intentional to get by as many people as possible, and it worked. I got by Richard.
It was a beautiful move. We were praising it from the booth for sure. Now, one more question before we let you go. We don't talk about this a lot. You guys have the team championship as well to worry about, and you're up with Liam Quinn this season. Beautiful livery, by the way. Do you guys have any eyes on that championship? Do you think you and Quinn can go for that, with you usually being up in the top there?
Credits to Liam for the livery. He's the one who designed it. I hope so. I really hope so. I don't really know where we stand after today's race in the team championship. I think we might be P2 or P3, but it's really close, because what kind of happened was in almost every team, one driver finished up in the field and one driver finished like outside of the top 10. So I think the team championship will be really exciting. And to be honest, I just hope Liam and I can get a top 3 championship position in the end. That is our goal for this season.
Great stuff. Well, once again, great job on the podium run. 3rd place is nothing to be ashamed of, as you said, in a 40-car field. It's very huge, large amount of drivers there. Thanks for coming and talking to us, and good luck this season.
Thank you. See you guys soon.
Bill?
Okay, Joe, I guess that'll wrap it up for interviews, as I don't see anybody else in the booth there that we can run down. Real quickly, let's have a couple closing thoughts here. I'm really looking forward to this. 8 races. We got 1 under the way. I think one of the things that we can look forward to is some good racing. If they were able to get 40 cars around here as cleanly, I know there was an incident took out a few cars early, but for the most part, it could have been so much worse than that opening lap. It was nice to see some good, clean racing and good battling all through the field.
Absolutely. And I think that first lap was a good demonstration of what this league is about and why it's called the Absolute Beginners League. It's not that they're looking for guys that are inexperienced. They're looking to help the guys that are inexperienced. This is very much a training league to get them up to speed so that they can fight with that talent. And that's what you saw there. I think even before the first race started, you have people who are trying to help and guide, because they have other series that they run in Absolute Beginners. I think it's the Star Mazda and the Kia this season. And so they've had some time to try and train these guys how to deal with those large fields at the start. So beautiful, beautiful job, and credit to everybody for managing to get through that as well as they did.
Okay, that'll do it for us. We're going to wrap up now with the sponsor plug, so everyone pay attention, because these are the people that make it possible for the broadcast to be on the air. We'd like to thank 4MS Network Solutions Limited. Founded in 2007, 4MS Network Solutions is an IP communications and network service company with a global reach 4MS designs, installs, and supports its clients' infrastructure both on and offshore in any country with a team of Cisco certified engineers. A Cisco Premier Partner, 4MS provides IT hardware sales, carriers services, and provides a full complement of professional services for the Cisco lifestyle. 4MS Network Solutions Limited, making your network better, stronger, faster. I get more money if I sing the jingle. Also, thanks to the Absolute Beginner League for organizing Formula Eagle and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. Thanks to the company's equipment and software that you see on the screen now that we use for our broadcast. Our original music you've heard today on the broadcast is thanks to Eric Eckelm and Casey Lalonde. See the screen for how to contact each of them. Thanks to my mic mate Joe Peak and director Amjad Yaman Dougie Beard for his camera locations. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, your best bet is Global Sim Racing Channel along with archive races and race highlights. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. Formula Eagle returns in 2 weeks, January 31st, for a 45-minute event from Summit Point. For details of all the upcoming events, go to globalsimracingchannel.com. And now that the housekeeping is out of the way, it's time for us to go off fun storming the castle. So until next time, race hard, race clean, and we'll see you on the track.